Thomas the Tank Engine. Dear Christopher, here's your friend Thomas the Tank Engine. He wanted to come out of his station yard and see the world. These stories tell you how he did it. I hope you will like them because you helped me to make them. Your loving Daddy. Thomas and Gordon. Thomas was a tank engine who lived at a big station. He had 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome. He was a fussy little engine, always pulling coaches about. He pulled them to the station, ready for the big engines to take out on long journeys. And when trains came in and the people that got out, he would pull the empty coaches away so that the big engines could go and rest. He was a cheeky little engine too. He thought no engine worked as hard as he did, so he used to play tricks on them. He liked best of all to come quietly beside a big engine dozing on a siding and make him jump.
Wake up, lazy bones! Why don't you work hard like me?
Then he would laugh rudely and run away to find some more coaches. One day, Gordon was resting on a siding. He was very tired. The big express he always pulled had been late, and he had to run as fast as he could to make up for lost time. He was just going to sleep when Thomas came up in his cheeky way.
Wake up, lazy bones! Do some hard work for a change! You can't catch me!
Instead of going to sleep again, Gordon thought how he could pay Thomas out. One morning, Thomas wouldn't wake up. His driver and fireman couldn't make him start. His fire went out and there was not enough steam. It was nearly time for the express. The people were waiting, but the coaches weren't ready. At last, Thomas started.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Come on, hurry up!
Thomas gave them a rude bump and started for the station.
Don't stop dawdling, don't stop dawdling.
Where have you been? Where have you been?
Thomas fussed into the station where Gordon was waiting.
Hurry up, you!
Help yourself!
Yes, I will.
Almost before the coaches had stopped moving, Gordon came out of his siding and was coupled to the train.
Get in quickly, please.
So the people got in quickly, the signal went down, the clock struck the hour, the guard waved his green flag, and Gordon was ready to start. Thomas usually pushed behind the big trains to help them start, but he was always uncoupled first, so that when the train was running nicely, he could stop and go back. This time he was late, and Gordon started so quickly they forgot to uncouple Thomas.
Come on, come on!
Pull harder, pull harder!
The heavy train slowly began to move out of the station. The train went faster and faster, too fast for Thomas. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't.
Stop, stop!
Hurry, hurry, hurry!
You can't get away! You can't get away!
Poor Thomas was going faster than he had ever gone before. He was out of breath and his wheels hurt him, but he had to go on.
I shall never be the same again. My wheels will be quite worn out.
At last they stopped at a station. Everyone laughed to see Thomas puffing and panting behind. They uncoupled him, put him onto a turntable, and Vanny ran onto a siding out of the way.
Well, little Thomas, now you know what hard work means, don't you?
Poor Thomas couldn't answer. He had no breath. He just puffed slowly away to rest and had a long, long drink. He went home very slowly and was careful afterwards never to be cheeky to Gordon again.
All your friends on the railway would like you all to see just how much fun rocking on the railway can be. So won't you come along and join them for the ride? Just hang on tight, catch your breath, and come for the ride. Rocking, rocking on the railway, rolling, rolling on the railway, moving, moving down the line, swinging, sway from side to side. They'll be rocking and a rolling. Won't you come for the ride of your life? Now Gordon's in a hurry, 'cause Thomas made him wait. We'll have to go much faster, we really can't be late. Soon the coach was rocking, it swayed from side to side.
With the bathwater spilling and a splashing inside.
Rocking, rocking on the railway, rolling, rolling on the railway, moving, moving down the line, swinging, sway from side to side. They'll be rocking and a rolling. Won't you come for the ride of your life? Now we're really moving, moving to and fro. Everyone around shouting more, more, more. Can't get enough of these thrills. And just when you think you can't take any more, you better hang on tight. 'Cause here we go again. Slip, slide, come for the ride. Rocking, rocking on the railway, rolling, rolling on the railway, moving, moving down the line, swinging, sway from side to side. They'll be rocking and a rolling. Won't you come for the ride of your life? They'll be rocking and a rolling. Won't you come for the ride of your life? Come for the ride!
Thomas's train. Thomas often grumbled because he was not allowed to pull passenger trains. The other engines laughed.
You're too impatient.
You'll be sure to leave something behind.
Rubbish. You just wait, I'll show you.
One night, Thomas and Henry were alone. Henry was ill. The men worked hard, but he didn't get better. Now, Henry usually pulled the first train in the morning, and Thomas had to get his coaches ready.
If Henry is ill, perhaps I shall pull his train.
Thomas ran off to find the coaches.
Come along, come along.
There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time.
He took them to the platform and wanted to run round in front at once, but his driver wouldn't let him.
Don't be impatient, Thomas.
So Thomas waited and waited. The people got in, the garden stationmaster walked up and down, the porters banged the doors, and still Henry didn't come. Thomas got more and more excited every minute. The factor editor came out of his office to see what the matter was, and the garden stationmaster told him about Henry.
You'd better find another engine then.
There's only Thomas, sir.
Well, you'll have to do it then, Thomas. Be quick now.
So Thomas ran round to the front and back down onto the coaches, ready to start.
Don't be impatient. Wait until everything is ready.
But Thomas was too excited to listen to a word his driver said. What happened then, no one knows. Perhaps they forgot to couple Thomas to the train. Perhaps Thomas was too impatient to wait until they were ready. Or perhaps his driver pulled a lever by mistake. Anyhow, Thomas started. People shouted and waved at him, but he didn't stop.
They're waving because I'm such a splendid engine. Henry says it's hard to pull trains, but I think it's easy. Hurry, hurry, hurry!
As he passed the first signal box, he saw the men leaning out, waving and shouting.
They're pleased to see me. They've never seen me pulling a train before. It's nice of them to wave. Thank you!
But then he came to a signal at danger.
Bother! I must stop, but I was going so nicely too. What a nuisance signals are.
Hello, Thomas. What are you doing here?
I'm pulling a train, can't you see?
Where are your coaches then?
Why, bless me if we haven't left them behind.
Yes. You'd better go back quickly and fetch them. Yes, fetch them.
Poor Thomas was so sad he nearly cried.
Cheer up. Let's go back quickly and try again.
At the station, all the passengers were talking at once. They were telling the fat director, the stationmaster, and the guard what a bad railway it was. But when Thomas came back, they saw how sad he was and couldn't be cross. So they coupled him to the train, and this time he really pulled it. But for a long time afterwards, the other engines laughed at Thomas and said,
Look! There's Thomas who wanted to pull a train!
Yes, except he forgot about the coaches.
Thomas and the Trucks. Thomas used to grumble in the sheds at night.
I'm tired of pushing coaches. I want to see the world.
The other engines didn't take much notice, for Thomas was a little engine with a long tongue. One night, Edward came to the shed. He was a kind little engine and felt sorry for Thomas.
I've got some trucks to take home tomorrow. If you take them instead, I'll push coaches in the yard.
Thank you, that will be nice.
So they asked their drivers next morning, and when they said yes, Thomas ran happily to find the trucks. Now trucks are silly and noisy. They talk a lot and don't attend to what they are doing. They don't listen to their engine, and when he stops, they bump into each other screaming, "Oh! Whatever is happening?" And I'm sorry to say they play tricks on an engine who's not used to them. Edward knew all about trucks. He warned Thomas to be careful, but Thomas was too excited to listen. The shunter fastened the coupling, and when the signal dropped, Thomas was ready. But the trucks weren't ready. Wait, Thomas, wait!
Come on!
The trucks grumbled slowly out of the siding onto the main line.
Come along!
Alright, don't fuss! Thomas whistled as they rushed through the tunnel which Henry had been shut up. And then they came to the top of the hill where Gordon had stuck.
Steady now. Steady.
We're stopping!
No! Go on! Before his driver could stop them, the trucks had pushed Thomas down the hill and were rattling and laughing behind him. Poor Thomas tried hard to stop them from making him go too fast.
Stop pushing! Stop!
Go on! Thomas was glad when it got to the bottom. Then he saw in front the place where they had to stop.
Oh dear, what shall I do?
They rattled through the station, and luckily the line was clear as they swerved into the goods yard.
I must stop.
When he opened his eyes, Thomas saw he had stopped just in front of the buffers, and there watching him was the fat director.
What are you doing here, Thomas?
I brought Everett's trucks.
Why did you come so fast?
Oh, I didn't mean to. I was pushed.
Haven't you ever pulled trucks before?
No.
Well, then you've got a lot to learn about trucks, little Thomas. They are stupid things and must be kept in their place. After pushing them about here for a few weeks, you'll know almost as much about them as Edward. Then you will be a really useful engine.
The engines always think they are so clever, and so they like to bump the trucks around. They bump them in the sidings, they bump them in the yard. They'd better beware, they better take care, they better be on their guard.
Thomas and the Breakdown Train. Every day, the fat director came to the station to catch his train.
Hello, Thomas.
There were lots of trucks in the yard. Different ones came in every day, and Thomas had to push and pull them into their right places. He worked hard. He knew now that he wasn't so clever as he had thought. Besides, the fat director had been kind to him, and he wanted to learn all about trucks so as to be a really useful engine. But on a siding by themselves were some trucks that Thomas was told he mustn't touch. There was a small coach, some flat trucks, and two queer things his driver called cranes.
That's the breakdown train. When there's an accident, the workmen get into the coach, and the engine takes them quickly to help the hurt people and to clear and mend the line. The cranes are for lifting heavy things, like engines, coaches, trucks.
One day, Thomas was in the yard when a goods train came rushing through much too fast.
Help! Help!
The engine, a new one called James, was frightened. His brake blocks were on fire, and smoke and sparks steamed out on each side.
They're pushing me! They're pushing me! Help! Help!
Poor James disappeared under a bridge.
Oh, I'd like to teach those trucks a lesson.
James is off the line! The breakdown train! Quickly!
Thomas was coupled on, the workmen jumped into their coach, and off they went.
Hurry, hurry, hurry! All of those trucks and their tricks. I hope all James isn't hurt.
They found James in the trucks at a bend in the line. The brake van and the last few trucks were on the rails, but the front ones were piled in a heap. James was in the field with a cow looking at him, and his driver and fireman were feeling him all over to see if he was hurt. Never mind, James, it wasn't your fault. It was those wooden brakes they gave you.
We always said they were no good. Stupid workmen.
Thomas pushed the breakdown train alongside, and then he pulled the unhurt trucks out of the way.
Oh dear, oh dear. Serves you right, serves you right.
When the men put other trucks on the line, he pulled them away too. He was hard at work, puffing backwards and forwards all afternoon.
This will teach you a lesson. This will teach you a lesson. Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
They left the broken trucks and mended the line, and then with the two cranes they put James back on the rails. He tried to move, but he couldn't, so Thomas helped him back to the shed. The fat director was waiting anxiously for them.
Well, Thomas, I've heard all about it and I'm very pleased with you. You're a really useful engine. James shall have some proper brakes and a new coat of paint, and you shall have a branch line all to yourself.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Now Thomas is as happy as can be. He has a branch line all to himself and puffs proudly backwards and forwards with two coaches all day. He's never lonely because there is always some engine to talk to at the junction. Edward and Henry stop quite often and tell him the news. Gordon is always in a hurry and does not stop, but he never forgets to whistle to little Thomas. And in return, Thomas always whistles.
He's a really